Hello and welcome to another episode of Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday to help home buyers build confidence, follow a process and hopefully buy really happy. Today we're joined by one of Place's best agents, the Queen of the Inner West, Sacha Hennessy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sam.
That's the second time we've done that introduction because I messed up the first time.
I don't mind being referred to as a king.
Nice. Well, very, very good at what you do.
Thank you.
We'll leave it at that. Right, first up, how's the market?
Oh, look, the market's the market. I know that's such a hedging your bets answer. Look, the market is always really interesting. It's always really segmented. It is why I do love that I sell across a range of price points because it is so interesting which ones are doing well, which ones are struggling a little bit more. Look, I think what I'm finding overall about the market is that it feels like it's a really fair market at the moment. I don't feel like it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. I feel like the deals that we're doing are really fair for both parties, which is not a bad thing.
For sure. Fair's a word that we've been using a lot, probably for the whole year, I would say. You said there that there are segments that are doing better than others. Where do you see more competition?
You'll always have a lot of competition in Brisbane under 2. To be honest, it's probably really under 1.5. And then interestingly, anything over about 4 is doing exceptionally well. Multiple offers, generally cash offers. So it's sort of the top and tail that are doing well, and that middle ground is taking a little bit longer. Perhaps struggling a little more.
Do you think it's expectations that cause that middle market to feel a bit tighter, or do you think it's actually just hard for families to move home?
Yeah, I think it's everything. I think, you start off with expectation, but you should have a high expectation of how your house is going to perform. Why start low? You're not going to get high in that respect. But you're right. It's everything. There are lots of pressures. I think interest rates are an interesting one. Everyone's saying, but let's just wait another month because interest rate decreases are going to kick in. Look, I actually think many buyers have already factored in a couple of interest rate decreases. So maybe we won't all of a sudden see them having another 50, 100 grand to spend. And I really quite like that buyers are quite educated, whether it's with having support from people like yourselves or just the work that they themselves do. They are quite educated on price.
Let's talk about education. How does a buyer educate themselves on prices?
Oh, look, lots of ways. I mean, I think with respect to a particular property, the one that they're trying to buy, the best source is, talk to the agent. Talk to the agent because they will give you, hopefully, a reasonable ballpark as to where they need to be, or comp sales, and that's a clue. That's, there's the guide, as to what the vendor's expectations are. Of course, whatever the vendor's expectations are, if you really love a property, make an offer. Start that conversation. But of course, there's lots of ways. I mean, realestate.com has a great sold section. Jump onto Instagram. Follow us all on Instagram. We try not to have too boring a content, but I know a lot of it is list and sell, but that we try and put all of our prices on Instagram because again, it's about education. It's about making sure the buyers are coming in with some education as to the property that they're trying to purchase.
We talk about buyers and sellers, it's a game of expectation management often for the agent, and a buyer needs to know what's sold, so their expectations can be set. Then you need to understand, is what's sold comparable to what's on the market?
Yes.
Then you need to figure out if you like it. And then you need to figure out if you really like it, what do you want to pay? Because past sale price, I think in this fair market, looking at sales for the last 3 months is a really good guide.
Yeah.
I don't see a great deal of movement between that. It's just how comparable is that product rather than the price.
And that's the trick. I mean, that is the biggest trick because, I love that, there is such a variety of housing in Brisbane, but even your 3-bedroom cottage on 405, there's such a range.
Has it got 8 metres of slope?
Oh, has it got is the home a 6.5 metre wide cottage or is it an 8.5 metre wide cottage? So many different things like that. But again, it's where, you as a buyer going in, being a little bit more sophisticated and having a little bit more education, but do also, again, talk to the agent. some of these sales that we may be comparing our properties to may not have gone to market. They may not have recent photos online. We can genuinely explain to you where our head's at in terms of, well, this is at this because of this, that, and the other. Yeah, of course, we're going to be skewing it on the higher side, but real estate is valuable, and our vendors only do get one crack at it. So, you're always trying to present a property in its best light and its fairest way. So, it's always some reasonable conversations.
Very good. What is your preferred method of sale?
My preferred, well, you just have to look at my sort of sales page and you'll see it's mainly for sale by negotiation. And look, I always talk about, don't worry, I have tried the odd auctions, and it's they're heaps of fun, but I don't think Brisbane is a market that is that has that much of a volume that we can't manage buyers in a for sale by negotiation situation. It doesn't mean it doesn't end up in an auction, whether it's a multiple offer situation or a situation where a couple of weeks down the track we turn around to our vendor and say, you know what, everyone's talking the same number, let's bring an auctioneer in. The sales process is fluid. Although I find I rarely deviate, because again, even when the press is saying the market's hot, we're probably only dealing with between 4 and 6 serious buyers. They can be managed by putting offers on contracts.
I agree with that. And actually, I think we've had a lot of people sit in that seat and talk about auction as the only way to sell a house. And if you don't want to auction, go with somebody else. And I think, one, sellers need a choice, but two, buyers need comfort to pay the best price.
Yes.
And a sales process is fluid. I actually think you're right. In a multi-offer situation, if you've got 6 people, 100 people at an open home over the weekend, 6 interested, putting them in competition where it's transparent actually removes you being the arsehole.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Oh, look, and there's a lot of things. I mean, I know that any sort of legislation, for want of a better word, that's come in with respect to how we are supposed to market a property if it does go to auction. You can still provide comparable sales, but it's the other thing, I was talking earlier about how do you educate buyers? You have a conversation. That is the other thing I like about for sale by negotiation, that you can have a conversation about price, which auctions don't necessarily allow. And look, the other thing that I prefer about for sale versus auction is that not everyone can participate in an auction. Some people do want to bring their own building and pest inspector in. Some people do need a valuation. You know what? No problem. Ultimately, I tend to find if you get the price right, all of the terms and conditions fall into place. It is really interesting how a lot of the our premium buyers at the moment are the ones who've got the better terms and conditions anyway. But you know what? I think it's fair that buyers should be afforded the right to a little bit of time to get their ducks in a row, to secure the property, take a deep breath, then do their due diligence. I mean, I'd hope a lot of it had been done on the way in, but getting that moment to secure the home, they have got a conditional period to then make good. I don't have a problem with that, given what people are paying for real estate these days.
100%.
Prices have increased significantly in Brisbane.
I think it's almost a better way for people to buy. Like, if they've got outs, they're pretty serious outs. You can't just change your mind.
Yeah,
but it does give them that chance to take a breath. And if you've been looking for 6 days, 6 weeks or 6 months, when you find that house, it is still terrifying to go through that admin week.
Absolutely.
And to do that knowing that there's a bank that's going to check to make sure you didn't overpay, that you can go and get somebody you trust to look at it to make sure it's not falling over. Gives people that comfort to be stoked paying $3 million.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You mentioned there you hope buyers would do a little bit of homework, perhaps before they're making an offer.
Yes.
Let's go back one step further. What's one thing you wish buyers did before they rocked up to an open home and gave you a name and a number?
Oh, look, and it's funny, the whole concept of filtering on realestate.com. I love it and I hate it. It's funny, I've been spending a lot of time recently telling people to stop filtering. Although if you really do have a hard upper limit on price, put it in, or maybe go 10% over and put it in, because, you know, I'm still finding I'm having people coming through homes, they're getting a price guide, coming through again and then making me an offer significantly lower. And you know, I know that is their opinion, very much so, but significantly lower in a way that they're just looking in the wrong market. So probably price more than anything else, or just even having a bit of a sense of where a property is, if there might be any elements that are really non-negotiables for them. You know, I would like them to have done a little bit of work. Having said that, I have had a few instances where people have just happened to be driving by and have come in and it's the one.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't happen very often, but, you know, we're always welcoming of anyone to come through my open houses, even if it is just for their own education. And that might be education. Okay, well, what does a $3 million house look like, even though I can only afford a $2 million house? That's all fine, but don't come and make me an offer at 1.5.
Fair enough. Let's talk about offers. You're doing really well. I hadn't had any questions and I'm just finding them out of your answers, so thank you.
That's okay.
Someone makes an offer with you.
Yes.
Walk me through that process. Like, what's it like to negotiate with Sacha Hennessy and your team?
Well, you're negotiating one-on-one. Until you're not, and you're told that straight up. I do, you know, while, you know, maybe it's 50% of our sales that end up in a multiple offer situation, I do like to make it clear to buyers, because I don't want buyers to be surprised when I turn around and say, oh, look, there's 3 more offers. So that always advised that, you know, an offer is not an expression of interest. It is not something written on a piece of paper. It is on a contract of sale, because that is an offer until it's accepted and dated. So we put all of our offers on a standard REIQ contract, because then it's, and I say to buyers, you know, I'm not trying to tie you up. I am trying to get this negotiation happening as quickly as possible. It gives weight to their proposition.
Agreed.
So I want that weight. I want to be able to sit down with my vendors and explain why they have put forward what they have put forward. And, you know, again, I will let the buyers know that if there's any, that, you know, I might have one vendor overseas. I might have a situation where I'm not going to be able to get back to them in 12 hours, 24 hours, but it will be pretty quick. Because I don't like to have offers hanging. I want to know, you know, where we're at with this. So, yeah, give me the details to put on a contract, filled in, usually via DocuSign, but always happy to do the old-fashioned round we go and
it's
get it signed.
It's not as romantic anymore, is it?
No, it's not. Oh, we've got so many great stories about signing contracts on the back of a car at a bowls club, and, you know, all the back and forwards that you used to do. But I think it's increased our volume. Like it's certainly increased the speed of transaction, which is not a bad thing. And look, usually you'll be negotiating with me. I do work with a great team, but I think it's really important for the lead agent to be the person that is the point of contact for offers and conversations with buyers in a negotiation. You'll be dealing with me, even though the paperwork might come from someone else. I'll come back to you. Look, I try to negotiate verbally. After that first offer on a contract, I try to move everyone verbally until someone doesn't want to do that, and that's okay. If a buyer wanted to see a countersigned contract, sure, no problem. I do know I let my vendors know that that's what I'm saying to the buyers as well. For speed of contract, I am trying to do this verbally. If one party or other wants a counter, no problem. It's a reasonable conversation. And then, hopefully you get to agreement and date it and off you go from there.
Where we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a 2-part question,
yes,
right? Because I think this is going to be beneficial for anyone who's found themselves in a multi-offer situation and maybe hasn't bought the house. And if you're still listening to this, that, you know, you probably haven't bought the house yet. If you have bought the house, you've deleted the podcast.
Well done.
Yeah, well done. In a multi-offer.
Yes.
How do you communicate that? How much are you willing to share about offers, interest, how many there are, etc.?
Yes.
And I imagine your answer is going to be quite a lot, but not the end game.
Exactly.
And then if someone's in a multi-offer and they're not getting the level of communication from an agent that you might provide, how would you advise that they navigate that to make a good decision that they're happy with, either buying or walking away?
That's a good question. And look, I think, with multi-offers, I love that it is a process. Our office takes that process very seriously, and not quite down to the offers going in an envelope. But some people do request that. Yeah. And some people still do request that, and that's fine. In terms of information, well, I'm certainly, I want to say giving away less rather than more. I do say to all parties, I will not be telling you what another offer is, as I wouldn't tell the other parties what your offer is. But if I am asked direct questions, I'm answering them as best I can. I mean, if someone said, what's the other price, I'd say, well, I'm not telling you that. Yeah. I'm telling you that you're in a multiple offer situation and you need to pay the most you're prepared to pay for this home, knowing that if someone else pays $50 more. And look, I have sold homes with $1,000 difference. I had one once where 3 people offered exactly the same number and very similar terms. And so, usually if I'm putting buyers in a multiple offer situation, the owner is ready to do a deal, so one of the offers will be accepted. So it's really important that, and I do tend to say a couple of times to buyers who may not have been through this process, are you sure that this is your best offer? Because I do just want to make sure that they understand the process and understand that if we're attaching a notice of multiple offer form to the contract that they're signing, that is it. There's not another go. I then, I did just mention in a situation where 3 people were exactly the same. There is a 1 in 50 chance that you will be asked for another go, but it's quite rare. It's when everyone has been exactly the same. And as I say, I've had that happen once in 11 years. So, you do just have to think really hard about it. And I don't mind it I love it as a process. It just, it's a great way to get a sale finalised. But I think as a buyer, you just have to accept that there will always be a number. Everyone will always have the number that they're prepared to pay or their walk-away price. I do recommend putting it in because you just don't want that regret of, oh, that's the one that got away. I mean, we all do have one. I can think of one for myself that got away. But you don't want it to be the one that got away because it could be, a little bit of time before another one comes along. But then in terms of the second part of your question, that's a really good question. I mean, I think ask questions. Do ask as many questions. And if the agent won't answer them, just be really upfront with them that you're trying to buy the house, you're trying to pay more. You really are trying to buy it, and you're just trying to work out how to do that. Communication is such an interesting thing.
That's all negotiation is.
I was thinking about it on the way over here. It's so interesting how these days so many people just want to communicate via text or email, and I'm okay with that. If that's what they want to do, no problem. But there's nothing like a conversation face to face over the phone. There's so much more that you can eke out of, whether it's the agent, whether it's the seller, whether it's the buyer. You can get, whether it's you might be talking to a building inspector, you might be talking to a valuer, whoever you are talking to in your journey, do try and have real conversations with them, because you might be surprised at what you're given in return.
I like that. Last question for you, and then I'll get you out of here and we can do some real work. What's your one tip for someone who wants to buy a house this weekend?
Oh, make an offer. Make us an offer. It really, if we're talking about the fact that no home is going to be 100% right for you. Look, if there is, man, you go in and you go hard on that one. I reckon it's about 85%. If you can get something that is 85 to 90% what you were hoping for, that's really good. And okay, you could then discount it slightly for the fact that it's not your 100%, but make an offer, try and buy it. There's nothing like engaging to buy a home. You might be surprised. I feel like I've got a lot of really reasonable vendors out there at the moment. make an offer, try and make it as clean as possible, but always, again, we're always happy for a short building and pest term, a short finance clause. Ask about settlement. What sort of settlement would suit the owners? A lot of my vendors at the moment want a longer settlement, so that could help a buyer. Again, ask questions, make offers, but more importantly, come and see us at our open houses.
Very good. What a great conversation. Sacha Hennessy, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.